hJewel.
Yeah, like, that hJewel, the singer-songwriter.
Uh-huh.
And her decision to perform at an inauguration ball.
Interesting. An inauguration ball for who, though?
Well, that's the thing. It was for the Make America Healthy Again movement.
Wow, that's a choice.
Right. And, like, what's even more interesting is that she's been such a strong advocate for mental health for, like, years.
Yeah, I remember.
So we found this article where she explains, like, why she decided to do it.
Oh, cool.
Yeah. And it gets, like, really fascinating, especially when you consider, like, the whole context. It's like she's really trying to make a difference in the mental health world.
Yeah, so how does this inauguration ball tie into all that?
Okay, so see, this event was specifically to honor Robert F. Kennedy Jr.
Oh, wow, Kennedy.
Yeah, and I mean, he's a bit of a controversial figure.
That's putting it lightly.
I mean, to be fair, he was Trump's nominee to be the head of Health and Human Services.
Oh, yeah, I forgot about that.
And, he's pretty well known for his views on vaccines.
Right.
So as you can imagine, like, a lot of people were kind of surprised by Jewel's decision.
Yeah.
Like, why would someone who's so passionate about mental health, choose to align herself with Kennedy?
Yeah, especially during, like, the whole Trump era, which was already so politically charged.
Exactly. So it's like, what led her to make that decision?
Yeah.
And what does it say about, like, trying to make change when things are so divided?
Yeah, like, how do you navigate something like that?
Right.
Well, thankfully, Jewel addresses all this in the article.
Oh, good.
Yeah, and her main argument is that mental health is a universal issue. It's something that affects everyone, no matter what your political beliefs are.
Yeah, that makes sense.
And she really believes it needs, like, urgent attention. She thinks by engaging with people in power, she can actually make a difference in policy and bring resources to people who need them.
Okay, yeah. I see what she's going for.
Yeah.
But isn't she kind of giving a platform to Kennedy's more controversial views by working with him, even if it's unintentional?
Well, yeah, I mean, that's the big question, isn't it? And Jewel does talk about this.
Oh, she does?
Yeah, she even has this quote in the article. She says, "If I wait to try until I agree 100% with the people that might be willing to help me, I'd never get off the bench."
That's a good quote.
Right. It's like she's acknowledging that sometimes you have to make compromises to get things done. You can't always wait for the perfect situation or the perfect allies.
Yeah, like finding that balance between working within the system, even if it's flawed, versus, like, sticking to your ideals.
Exactly. And it's something a lot of activists struggle with.
It makes you think about all the compromises people make when they're really passionate about a cause. They want to see change. But sometimes it means working with people you don't necessarily agree with on everything.
Absolutely. And for someone like Jewel, who has a huge platform, it's even more complicated.
Right, like she's not just a regular person advocating for something, she's a celebrity,
Sure.
So her actions have more weight and people are going to scrutinize them more.
Exactly. And that leads us to, like, the other big issue, Kennedy's stance on vaccines.
Right.
And this is where it gets really tricky for some of Jewel's fans, especially in the LGBTQIA+ community, who she's been a big supporter of.
Yeah, that makes sense. They probably feel let down.
Yeah, and Jewel seems to understand that. She actually issued an apology specifically to those fans who felt hurt or betrayed by her decision.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, she calls them her treasures, and she acknowledges the pain she caused. I thought that was really important.
Yeah, that was good of her to do.
It shows a lot of self-awareness.
Yeah, it does.
And then she brings up this really interesting idea of changing in relationship.
Changing in relationship, what's that?
Yeah, she basically argues that real progress can't happen if we're all just stuck in our own little bubbles.
Like echo chambers.
Exactly. She thinks we need to be willing to engage with people we disagree with, even if it's uncomfortable, even if we mess up sometimes.
That's tough though, isn't it? Like, especially these days when I feel like everyone's just getting pushed further and further apart.
I don't know, it's hard, but I think she has a point.
Yeah, like staying silent might feel safe, but does it actually lead to any real change?
Right. And that's the challenge Jewel's story presents to us. How do we balance our own personal values with wanting to make a difference in a world that's so messy and complicated?
Yeah, like, do we just wait for the perfect opportunity, the perfect allies? Or do we do what Jewel did and just jump in knowing it might be messy and we might make mistakes?
Exactly. It's a tough question and there's no easy answer.
Yeah, no easy answers for sure.
But it's definitely something we should all be thinking about.
So as we wrap up this deep dive, think about Jewel's decision. Would you have done the same thing?
Yeah, it's really interesting to think about.
How do you navigate the complexities of making a difference in a world that's so divided?
Because we all want to make a difference, right?
Yeah, we do. And I think Jewel's story gives us a lot to think about. It's a really powerful example of how challenging it can be to try to make a positive impact in a world with so much conflict.
Absolutely, and there's no one right way to do it. It's about finding what works for you and being willing to learn and grow along the way.
Well said. Okay, that's our deep dive for today. Thanks for listening.
Thanks for having me.